I get to the airport. They swept me up in a black limo, took me out, wined and dined me, drove me over to a 5-star hotel. Then they swept me up that next morning in the same black limo, drove me over to the event. And then as I'm walking up on stage, the lady who brought me in tucked into my jacket pocket a check for $3,500. So I'm on cloud nine. I'm going out of my mind. I looked that audience directly in the eyes and I gave them a $150 speech. Failed. Patricia, I failed miserably. Even the limo driver was looking at me like, man, I still got to take you back. You know, it was that bad.
Hi, Craig.
Hi, Patricia.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Thank you for saying yes. And I reached out to you because my very first interview, I've conducted dozens of interviews of different motivational speakers or world champions. And my first one was with Steve Hopkinson, which I believe you know.
Oh, yeah, sure.
He's an award-winning speaker and founder of the Speakers Momentum Academy. And he strongly recommended that I reach out to you. And I was more than happy to oblige. And you are a phenomenon in the public speaking world. Most speakers who are alive and breathing know who Craig Valentine is. However, for the rest of the world who has absolutely no clue who you are, here's a little preview. Brace yourself at home. Number one, Craig is an award-winning international speaker. He is the 1999 world champion of public speaking, a speech coach, and a motivational speaker. Woo! He has traveled the world helping thousands, I feel it should be probably tens of thousands of individuals and hundreds of organizations reap the profitable rewards that come from presenting with impact and persuading with ease. Number two, Craig is a business leader. He is the founder of the Communication Factory, which is an award-winning company that helps organizations. And some of Craig's clients, just to give you an idea, include MIT, the Massachusetts, I can never say this, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, McDonald's Corporation, I don't need to translate that one, NASA, Social Security Administration, Principal Financial Group, United Way, and DuPont Pharmaceuticals, just to name a few. He's also the co-founder of the World Class Speaking Program, which helps up-and-coming speakers and speech coaches turn their presentations and programs into huge profits. Number three, Craig is a best-selling author. He is the author of the groundbreaking book, The Nuts and Bolts of Public Speaking, the co-author of the books World Class Speaking and World Class Speaking in Action, and a contributing author for the books Guerrilla Marketing on the Front Lines and Success Secrets of the Social Media Marketing Superstars. He has an MBA from Johns Hopkins University, and he's certified as a co-active coach and a guerrilla marketing coach. Number four, finally, and most importantly, he is a family man. He is a husband to a lovely wife and a very proud father of 3 superstars. I've talked enough. Let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What was it like to be in your sneakers when you were a little boy and a teenager, Craig?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'm the father of 2.
Oh, 2
people. Yeah, you gave me an extra kid. I don't need an extra one. No, I
stand corrected. Sorry. I think I saw 3 on Facebook. That's why.
Oh yeah, well, we've kind of adopted one that. Long story short, we have 3 of them living here.
I did not invent the 3rd child. Good.
I guess you could say 3 now. So yeah, I was just one of those kids. People think that I'm a natural, and when it comes to public speaking, but I struggled. When I was 10 years old, I ran into a father of one of my friends, and I was in the mall by myself. And just to show you how much I struggled, he asked me how I was doing, and I told him, and he said to me, because I had a huge lisp, a speech impediment, he said, these were his exact words. He said, Craig, you don't talk anymore because every time you open your mouth, you remind me of Daffy Duck. Yeah. And so I was quiet for about 4 or 5 years. I just didn't say anything because I didn't want people making fun of me. And finally, when I forced myself to face reality and kind of grow through this, lo and behold, I ended up being the world champion of public speaking. And the funniest part was I saw that man 2 months after I won the world championship. That same man, this was like 18 years after our incident in the mall. And he didn't even remember. He had no idea that he called me Daffy Duck. But I was able to have a little fun with them. And I said, that's despicable. And we laughed. And we had a laugh. And he passed away about 6 months ago. So, but I actually thank him. I thank him for making me face reality and go through that. But it was certainly a struggle. And I was definitely not a natural. So that should give anybody hope. I meet people out there, they say, I had a lisp, or I stuttered, or I this and that. It should hopefully give you some hope, because there are possibilities out there for you.
Oh, yes. And it's so interesting when you say this. Is so many people, they don't realize the impact of their words, right? It was just this man making fun of this little kid, but he I can say not to destroyed your life, but he affected your self-esteem for like 4 to 5 years. So there's so much power in words. Even
to this day, I practice my diction before I get on a call or on a speech, because of him, because I want to make sure I'm speaking as clearly as possible. But yeah, at the time, when he told me that, I kind of felt like, when a snake will bite you and crawl back in its hole and forget all about it, but you're carrying that venom, that poison around with you for a while. So I actually had to forgive him. And ended up thanking him.
Yes, we have to be thankful and forgive, you, right? But there is a better way than to criticize people and damage them for them to, because so many world champions, even Mohamed Katani, I interviewed him. He was told literally by teacher that he was stupid, And yes, of course, he's thanking him now and look at him now. But the thing is, there must be a better way. And I'm sure, like with everything that you do, you found a better way of helping people without telling them that they sound like a Daffy Duck.
That's exactly right. I coach people, and one of my jobs is to make them face reality so that they can get to where they want to get to. But it's certainly not belittling or demeaning anybody in the process. We want to lift them up.
Yes, we do. Now, by then, you're a young man. Okay, so what made you choose your field of study when the time came to go to college? I'm asking you because I have a 19-year-old daughter, and she, how are they supposed to know what they want to do? So I'm just curious to know what made you choose your field of study?
That's actually very interesting, because remember I said I ran into a father or one of my friends.
Yes.
Well, later on, when I was about to go to college, I ran into my friend, right? That the guy is the son. And I said, what are you going to study in college? He said, mass communications. I said, okay, me too. That's how I chose it, just like that. And he studied communications and went to Brown, and I studied communications. And I had no idea that I was going to end up as a speaker. But that's what I ended up studying for college, just based on that conversation.
It's so funny because, we have no clue. It sounds like something like my choice of program was pretty silly. Well, not silly. It was silly as well. There was no thought to it. But anyhow, it's funny that you have a similar story.
Yeah, I thought I wanted to get into behind the scenes, into directing and movies and things like that. And then I got into that business, and I didn't like it at all. And so, I left.
Good. I'm happy you did.
I was in a couple of, I did do some casting, and they put me in a couple of movies. I was actually in Forrest Gump. If you've seen that movie. Yeah.
Of course. That's one of my favorite movies. Really? Okay.
They I was in the 60s scene, and they put a big afro on me and some sideburns. And I'm in the scene at the reflection pool when Tom Hanks runs out into the water and Jenny's out there. And I also helped dress everybody for that scene as well. So that was a good experience.
You can be sure I'm going to go rent Forrest Gump tonight to watch the whole thing all over again, because I love that movie so much. Oh, well, you see, thank you for letting me know. So by then, now you're studying in mass communication, you said. And what was the reason why you visited a Toastmasters club for the first time? Like, what got you in?
I became addicted to reading, and I was just reading and reading and reading. And a lot of the authors were speakers. And I read this one book by Michael Aun. And he was AUN. He was a world champion of public speaking, and it was a book on speaking, and it was saying that you should contact Toastmasters. So about 4 years later, when I got the nerve to do it, I contacted a club, and they invited me, and I went there, and they do what's called table topics, of course. So I did the table topics that day, and they gave me the first place prize. I won, and I was hooked. And it was only like a year later when I realized that my club always makes the visitor the winner. It makes you feel good and gives you a better chance to come back. So I was hooked right after that. So that was the reason. But it took me about 4 or 5 years to get up the nerve to walk in those doors.
Wow. That's so, you see, I have this book, sorry, by Brian Tracy, The Power of Self-Discipline, No Excuses.
Yes.
There's a chapter in there that's saying, learn to speak on your feet, join Toastmasters. I joined Toastmasters last year, actually, last May. And It was because of a chapter in there. So you see?
Oh, yeah. And I'm still reading. You know, I try to read at least a book a week.
Oh, like you actually read them or you do the audiobooks?
No, I read them. I read. Yeah.
Yes, me too. Are you a heavy highlighter? I'm a heavy highlighter.
I was. And then I ran into Charlie Tremendous Jones, who passed away about a year after I shared the stage with him. He's a legend in the speaking industry. And he told me, Craig, told me a couple things, but he said, when you speak, don't get them to listen and memorize, get them to think and realize. And he said, and when you read, I don't want you to highlight or do any of that. All I want you to do is when you read the book is on the last page, just write down what you're going to do. Don't write anything down. Just write down what you're going to do with this information. Completely changed my life, made me way more action oriented. And so I thank Charlie Tremendous Jones for that. He's popular for saying that you'll be the same person 5 years from now that you are today, except for 2 things: the people you meet and the books you read. And so that was very important advice from Charlie.
This is deep stuff. You just saved me a whole lot of money in highlighters, Craig. Thank you.
Because I used to do that. I used to highlight everything. And then I realized also, you know what? If everything is highlighted, nothing is highlighted.
Wow. I think you just changed my life forever. Thank you.
Thank Charlie. Thank Charlie. Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay. After you earned your title of World Champion of Public Speaking in 1999, can you share with us your greatest challenge and how you managed to pick yourself back up and keep going?
Yeah, the greatest challenge is when you fail. When you get up there and fail in front of it. I'll give you an example. It was the year 2000. If you had picked up my phone, you would have heard the woman from the Michigan Consolidated Gas Company say to me, Craig, we want you to come out here and speak. We're willing to pay you for 45 minutes. We're going to pay you $3,500. Right now, this is the year 2000, which should tell you I already won the world championship, but I was still like a really new speaker. And so I was excited, but Patricia, I was scared. And to make things worse, they flew me out first class. Yeah. I get to the airport. They swept me up in a black limo, took me out, wined and dined me, drove me over to a 5-star hotel. Then they swept me up that next morning in the same black limo, drove me over to the event. And then as I'm walking up on stage, the lady who brought me in tucked into my jacket pocket a check for $3,500. So I'm on cloud 9. I'm going out of my mind. I looked that audience directly in the eyes and I gave them a $150 speech. Failed. Patricia, I failed miserably. Even the limo driver was looking at me like, man, I still got to take you back. You know, it was that bad. But what came from that was I realized, you know what, I need to get coached. You know, I need to get coached because even though I was the world champion of public speaking, I needed to get coached. And I came to understand a very important principle that what got me here won't get me there. Right. And what Marshall Goldsmith has later written a book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. It always takes new tools, new practices and new ways. And so I ended up getting coached. And that's what got me through it. When we try to get through this by ourselves, it doesn't go well. You know, there are people who have gone through what you're going to go through. I always say, if you're going to climb a mountain, wouldn't you go to somebody who already climbed it? Mm-hmm. And not necessarily so they can tell you where to step, but where to avoid stepping. And so I got coached by Patricia Fripp, FRIPP.com. Yeah. And that was the turning point. That really was the turning point.
Wow. Oof.
So I suggest coaching for anybody coaching, mentoring, but you got to be careful also like who you have as a coach. Because the first coach I had in Toastmasters, I went to him one day and I said, look, these are supposed to be 5 to 7 minute speeches. And every time I practice it, it's coming out to be like 9 to 10 minutes. I said, what do I do? He looked at me and said, talk faster. Terrible advice. Terrible advice. Yeah. You know, today I would tell people, well, you gotta take some out. You gotta kill some of your favorites. Yes. So because and I tell speakers all the time, you can't rush and resonate. right? You can't rush and resonate. If you're trying to put too much in, like the old saying goes, when you squeeze your information in, you squeeze your audience out. So we need to not rush. So be careful who you contact as a coach.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the issue. That's one of the reason why I joined Toastmasters, because I spoke too fast. This is my slowed down version by 10. And I spoke too fast. I stuttered. I still do when I'm under very high stress, but Toastmasters, after a year of Toastmasters, I'm already much better. But you're right. We have to more pauses, more time, and then you can have more impact. So 1000%.
Yeah. And then you got to realize if you go overseas, if English is not their first language, you got to slow down even more. Ask me how I know that, right? Whether I'm in China or Japan or somewhere where English is not their first language, I slow down even more. So I work on all that in rehearsal.
Yes. And speaking of that, then I have to say, my friend at home or at work, wherever you are, if you're not signed up to receive Craig's 52 speaking tips for free, make sure to do it. Just put in www.52speakingtips.com. There are short tips. Everybody has time for like 3 or 4 minutes. It's extremely short, but they're so powerful. Total game changer. I'm not even done. I'm at week 37 by now, I think. But
you're sticking with it. Good.
Yes, no, it's amazing. And
thank you.
And Craig, such quality content is usually not available for free. So it's amazing that you're doing this. Okay, I need to throw you a scenario here. Bear with me, work with me here.
Sure.
If you could only retain 3 of your 52 tips and forget about all the other ones, the other 49, if I know how to count properly, until the end of times, you can just hold on to 3 and continue your speaking career. Which one would you pick?
Well, the first one I would pick is to have a foundational phrase, right? When you tell your story and you make your point, you want to have a foundational phrase. And the reason is because we don't want to speak just to be remembered. Good speakers speak to be remembered. Great speakers speak to be repeated, right? Repeated, reposted, repeated, retweeted, because that's how you're going to get more business. I always say when you get the buzz, you get the biz, right? Well, you get the buzz from getting repeated. And so what's the foundational phrase? We just went through one. What got you here won't get you there, right? What got you here won't get you there. I'll give you an example. This is a story point foundational phrase. Being the world champion, I always tell people, being the world champion is a blessing and a curse. If you've been walking towards me in the Chicago airport 2 days after I won the world championship, you would have seen my wife on one side of me and me carrying this, it's right there, this gigantic crystal trophy, right? Just walking through the Chicago airport. And of course, everybody's looking at me like, well, who is that? You know, Patricia, I thought I heard a lady say, is that Denzel Washington? But this is when I realized my life would never be the same. This petite lady in a pink dress runs up to me in the middle of the airport. Now everybody's watching. She starts reading the bottom of my trophy. And she says, 1999 world champion of public speaking. Wow. Say some things. Yeah. And I'm speechless. But that's when I realized no matter where I go in life, people are going to say that. They're going to say, would you mind saying some things? Right. And so I came to an understanding that I came to an understanding that I can no longer get ready to speak. I have to stay ready to speak. Right. So my motto is don't get ready, stay ready. Now, Patricia, people know that. When they think that, they think of me. And I know that they know it because they repost it. They retweet it. They put it on different social media. Sometimes they quote me wrong, but they do quote me. So it might be what got you here won't get you there. It might be don't get ready, stay ready. It might be your dream is not for sale. Any of these different foundational phrases I have that are repeatable. So that's one. That's one. You want to have a foundational phrase for every story. Another one of the 52 tips that I would recommend is when you're in speaking, you're in sales, right? So we have to remember not to sell a product or a service or an idea or even change. We got to sell the result. Got to sell the result. And I give an example. I give this example in 52 speaking tips. When I went to buy my first car ever in life, decades and decades ago, went to buy my first car. The salesperson came up to me. He said, "Are you looking at the car?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, great. Let me tell you about it. This car has these types of windows, this type of brake, this type of this type." What's he trying to sell me? The car, right? I just said, never sell a product, always sell the result. So I said, thank you, but no, thank you. I'm not interested. So I went to a different dealership. Patricia, this was the same day, different salesperson, same car. Now, I got to be honest, this guy must have anticipated where I was emotionally at that point in my life. You know, I was young and single and looking to mingle. So he walks up to me, he says, are you looking at that car? I said, yes, sir. He said, you're going to look good in that one. He said, you're going to be flying down the road. The wind's going to be blowing through your hair. And the girls, let me tell you, the girls will be all over you. Patricia, what do you think I did?
You bought the car.
That's exactly. I said, where do I sign? Right? He made the sale not because he sold me the car, but he sold me the results. And he lied. I was lonely in that car. I always tell people it was just me and my payment. Right? But I tell people, don't lie, but don't sell the product, the service, the idea, change, or yourself. Always sell the results. You already mentioned 52 speaking tips, right? This is what I do to get people to go to 52 speaking tips. I say, raise your hand if a year from now, you'd like to be at least 3 times better than the speaker you are today. Or if I'm speaking to corporate America or even Canada, I'll say, raise your hand if a year from now, you'd like to be at least 3 times better than the presenter you are today. Oh yeah, all hands go up, right? I said, and great, for absolutely free, for no fee, you can go to one of my websites, which is 52speakingtips.com. That's 52speakingtips.com. And every week for a year, you're going to get an audio lesson from me. And by the end of that year, you will be at least 3 times better than the presenter you are today. Boom. And thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people have gone through 52speakingtips.com. But that gives another point, which is, what did I mention first? Just now, did I mention the product? Did I mention the service? Did I mention the result? Most people say, you mentioned free. That's what you mentioned. You mentioned free. But what I actually mentioned first was the result, right? 3 times better. And so what I tell people is, never sell a product, always sell the result. Always put the result before the resource. And if you're in leadership, always state the result before the request. Because if I did it the way most people do it, Patricia, it would have sounded like this. Raise your hand if you'd like to receive 52 emails from me.
Oh, no, thank you. I'll pass.
No, thank you. I don't think my opt-in rate would be as high, right? So you got to come with the result first and then follow that with whatever the resource is. So foundational phrase, and then make sure you never sell the product, but always sell the results. And, you know, there are a lot of different types of tips that I could put out there, but I would also say, speakers, the heart of any story is the dialogue. The dialogue, the character-to-character dialogue, the inner dialogue, the projected, all these different types of dialogue. And I will always ask people, I say, raise your hand if you'd like to add humor to a speech. Oh, yeah, all hands go up. But then I tell them this, never add humor to a speech. Uncover humor within it. Oof. And let me tell you that I see your face. There's a huge difference. Tell you why. Because when you force it, then that's what it feels like. It feels forced, right? It's not organic. But when you find it, when you uncover it, it's true. It's just part of your story. So the question is, well, where do you find it? Within your stories, within your characters dialogue. What characters say to each other. And sometimes your spaces and faces in between the lines. I'll give you a quick example. Sometimes some people in Toastmasters, Patricia, don't like me because think about my title, 1999 World Champion of Public Speaking. Well, I joined Toastmasters in March of 1998.
Oh my God.
Yes. I got my Competent Toastmasters, which we used to get back then, in March of 1999 and won the World Championship in August of 1999, my very first try. So when audiences hear this, they clap, but I say, yeah, you clap, but can you feel the haters in the room? Right? Because people come up to me all the time. They say, Craig, you don't even know what it feels like to lose a contest. I say, yes, I do. I actually lost the humor speech contest at the club level. Ooh. Yes. And I'll never forget a seasoned Toastmaster named Alan Mish came up to me afterwards and he said, Craig, you can win the World Championship of Public Speaking. I said, what are you talking about? I just lost the humorous speech contest at the club level. He said, that's okay. He said, the only thing wrong with your humorous speech was that it wasn't funny. right? Now, there's dialogue. You know, Alan said to me, the only reason you didn't win was because it wasn't funny. Absolutely true, right? So that's where you're going to find the humor within the dialogue. And then keep in mind, sometimes the dialogue is just what you're saying to yourself at a certain moment, right? And so if people can start using inner dialogue and character to character dialogue, rather than retelling the story, now we're reliving it. And that's what you want to do as a speaker. So those are three of there are a lot of tips in there, but those are three of the ones that I think stand out.
Yes, I recognize some of your stories. Really, if you want more tips, more of those stories, do go watch, sign up for the 52 speaking tips.
52 speaking tips, absolutely.
Yes,
52 speaking tips.
Yes. It's like gold. It's like nothing but gold. Okay. So while you're here, let me ask you a little question for our struggling business owners or miserable and disillusioned employees out there. They're watching this interview right now on the social media. What can you tell them that would help them take a first step in the right direction to write a different story? Like they're discouraged, they want to throw themselves off the bridge. Like, what would you like to tell them?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was in prison visiting, look at your face. An inmate came up to me after my presentation. He said, "Craig, I'm getting out of here in a few months. I'm feeling good about life, and I'm back on the right track." I said, "Well, you know, there's a quote by Will Rogers that says you might be on the right track, but if you just stand there, you're gonna be run over." So I left that day thinking, well, I'm glad he's back on the right track, but maybe I'm standing still as a speaker, right? I don't know, Patricia, if you ever wonder whether you're getting better or worse at what you do.
Yes.
Right? I do too. So I decided to call up this lady who's supposed to be one of the best public speaking coaches in the country. And I said, "Listen, I need a coach and I need to be coached by you." She was British. She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, I did my research. I know you're the one I want to coach me." She said, "Do you know how much I charge?" I said, "It doesn't even matter." She said, "Great. That's a wonderful attitude. That's fantastic. That will be $4,000 per day." I said, "I'm pretty happy with the skills that I have. Thank you." But then it kind of hit me that there's so many people, they look at the price of doing something, but they don't look at the cost of not. Right? So I actually decided to go out to Vegas, like I said, and I got coached by Patricia Fripp. And she said to me, she said, "Tell me the beginning of your keynote speech. Give me the first few words." I said, "Okay." And I gave her the first few. And she looked at me and she said, "Okay, I'm going to recommend that you never start that way again." And from that moment, I had to drop my ego on the Las Vegas Strip, and I had to listen. And it just reinforced what I said before. I was the world champion in public speaking, but I was nowhere near where I needed to be as a speaker. And I came again to understand that what got me here won't get me there. I think the reason why a lot of people are stuck and miserable and feeling stuck where they are is because they're trying to do things the way they've always done things, right? To get on the right path, sometimes you got to realize that you can't just keep doubling down. No, what got you here won't get you there. You got to try something different. You got to try something new. Even if it's still in your same job, in your same position, you got to find a new way to do things. Now, I spoke to the Giant Corporation not too long ago, Giant Inc., which was grocery stores. And they said, that's what we need. We need people who have been here for 30 years, 40 years. We've always been number one. But some people think that we can just keep doing things the same way. No, what got you here won't get you there. So I would suggest looking at, okay, that's not working. What might work for me? What new path can I try or can I take?
Oof. Yes.
That way you can get unstuck.
Yes, that totally resonates. Yeah, absolutely. I came back from a lot of, yes.
That old definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yes, that's how I got myself out of misery and abuse. And it's just by doing things differently, finding new tools to get out of it. So 1000% everything you just said. There's so many resources out there. There's so many free resources, paid resources, but it's just a question of wanting to take that first step. So
I'm working with a lady right now. I'm coaching a lady right now. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying this. She came from China. And actually, she went over to Hong Kong when she was little. She was working in the sweatshops, right? And she was making shirts. And she found this new way to flip the shirt so that it landed perfectly, and it saved her so much time, right? So she's doing this and she's making more money than anybody. She's doing way better than anybody. She's making it way quicker. The people next to her are watching her do this, but they still wouldn't change the way they did theirs. Right. And you know why? Because, as in her words, nobody respected a little girl. And so I think what we do sometimes is we cast off people who might not be in an authority position, and we just say, I can't learn from that person. No, you can learn from anyone. And if you open your eyes to that, then you might have some kids teach you where you need to go and what you need to do. You know, there are people who said that TikTok thing is stupid. Okay, but there are a lot of people who are my age who are making $1 billion off of TikTok and influencing the world. Yeah. So sometimes you got to just be open to other things.
Yes. Absolutely. And also learning what not to do from some people too. It's the easiest lesson sometimes.
Yeah, I'd rather learn it that way. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, this is awesome stuff. Okay. Another one for you. What is your best advice for someone who is terrified of public speaking or doesn't see the value in joining a public speaking group or program? Like the ones that say, oh, that's not for me, or I can't speak. Oh, you know the type. I don't have to explain it to you, but these people that said, it's just, I love what you're doing, Craig, but I just can't do it.
Yeah. Well, there are two parts to that. If you're afraid, I've got some advice for you that's not really in line with what everybody else says, but I'll give you an example. When I was in the mid-90s, my friend asked me to sing at his wedding. Right? Now, what do you think the first problem is?
Yeah, I don't. You can't sing.
No, that's exactly right. I can't. When we grew up together, so when I was real young, I could, but your voice changes and stuff. But so that was the first problem. The second problem was I wasn't assertive enough to say no. Yeah. So now I'm stuck, and I got to sing at his wedding. And so I don't know if you realize, like, when you get to a wedding, if it's in a church or whatever, there's always a back room where all the groomsmen are.
Yes.
Right. And by the way, there's always a door in case the groom wants to leave beforehand. But anyway, we're all in that back room, and all the groomsmen are looking at me like, and they're saying, are you nervous? Are you nervous to be singing at this thing? And here's what I tried to do, Patricia. I tried to fake out my nerves. I tried to fake out. I said, me, the kid, nervous? I was a college basketball player. I played in front of 18,000 people. You don't think I can sing in front of 250? I'm not nervous. Come on, me. Then the music started, right? And I got up to the microphone just like this. And for the first time in my life, my breath left me. I didn't know where it went or when it was coming back. But let me tell you something, Patricia. If you can't breathe, you can't sing. Right? I mean, am I right? So I know you're probably thinking, well, his breath came back and he pulled it up and he did. No, I was the worst wedding singer in the history of weddings. Keep in mind, this is, yes, it is. Yes, it is. On VHS. Now, keep in mind, this is supposed to be his only wedding, right? So I do that, but I gained a big lesson out of that. And the lesson is you can't fake out your nerves. Right? You can't fake out your nerves. So what I started learning to do is accept them. They're going to show up. I'm going to be afraid, but I just need to accept them. And so if you fast forward 4 years or 4 or 5 years, I'm at the World Championship of Public Speaking. There are 2,000 people there in Chicago, Illinois. There's a big jumbotron on both sides of the stage, right? So if anything's hanging out my nose, it's going to be magnified like 100 times. So you think I'm nervous? Absolutely. But what I did was I accepted my nerves that day, and I gave the speech on stage that day better than any time that I had practiced it. Because when I was practicing, I wasn't nervous. So ever since then, I've been doing what I call accept my nerves, and even thanking them for being there. And when you start to look at it that way, you start to flip your script on your nerves. So if every now and then before I take the stage, somebody will say, Craig, are you nervous? I say, I hope so. I sure hope so. And so now everything's working for me rather than against me. A lot of times speakers will get up there and they're trying to focus on reducing their nerves. Well, what you focus on expands, right? So if you're focusing on your nerves, you're going to feel more nervous, and you're not going to be focusing on your audience. So I think it's very important for people who are afraid to realize, so am I. But accept it and go out there and see what happens. In terms of the value, I can tell you this. When I worked for an internet company, I was one of the low men on the totem pole. I was in sales, right? Like first line, front line guy. the CEO came to me one day, and I wasn't the world champion yet. He came to me one day and he said, I heard that you don't mind speaking in public. I said, well, yeah, I'm a new Toastmaster, so I guess I could do it. Why? He said, well, everybody else minds speaking in public. And I said, okay, well, what do you want me to do? He said, we're going to have a conference with these information specialists from around the world, and I want you to be the MC. I said, I can do that. I did it for 2 days. After the 2 days, the CEO comes to me and says, I want you to teach everybody in this organization the art of public speaking. So I go from low man on the totem pole to up here. Then keep in mind, this is an internet company. So he's like, we've got these venture capitalists coming in. I need somebody to speak to them. Why don't you be the person? So now I'm speaking to them. Oh, by the way, now the Internet World Conference and the Online World Conference in New York and LA and all these places, I need you to go and represent us. So now I'm like the man, all because of one skill, and that is public speaking. So if you don't see the value in that, trust me, you're going to have a ceiling on your career unless you can speak and break through that.
Oh, I like the visual of that. Yes. Oof. So much wisdom. Thank you so much for this. Ooh, what else? I have a good one for you here. Craig, what is your best advice for a speaker who would like to generate an additional income stream? Everybody's broke, or everybody can use more money. Okay. So there are a bunch of speakers. We have 300,000 Toastmasters members worldwide in the moment. But then they don't think that they're good enough to get paid to speak. Like, I've been offered opportunities and I've told them, oh no, I just got started last year. So what would I have to tell these people?
You better take those opportunities. You better take, because I believe truly, and I say this all the time, you got to speak your way into speaking, right? You got to speak your way into speaking. A lot of people, if they're afraid, why don't you go speak for free? Go speak for free and give as much value as you can, and do it over and over and over again, like I did. When I won the world championship, it didn't put me on the path of being a professional speaker. It put me on the path of speaking for free everywhere and anywhere. And so I took advantage of all of that, because here's what you can do. If you speak for free, guess what you get? You get better. And guess what else you get? You get testimonials. You get proof that what you're doing works. And then all of a sudden you start to gain confidence, like, well, maybe I can charge, right? And then you start charging a little bit, and then you gain more confidence. You start charging a little bit more, and you gain. So you speak your way into speaking. And so that's my advice, is to go out there and speak for free until you can speak for fee. And that's what happened to me. But here's something else that I suggest when it comes to another stream of income. I had a guy call me in 1999. He said, Craig, this is Wade Randolph, and I'd like you to coach me on my speech. And I said, Wade, I'm not a speech coach. I'm just a speaker. I wouldn't even know where to start. He said, I'll pay you. I said, that's a good place to start, right? And so I started coaching Wade, but I still just saw myself as a speaker. But he kept coming back. I had no idea what I was doing, but he kept coming back. And as he came back, I started getting more processes and formulas to help him. Word got out. Other people started coming to me, and I started coaching them. But it wasn't until Darren LaCroix, a good friend of mine, Darren LaCroix, said to me, Craig, once you realize that you're also a speech coach, then things are going to open up for you. And that's exactly what happened. One day I said, you know what? I'm going to embrace speech coaching as well. And the whole world opened up. So what I tell people now is jump into what you fall into. Oof. Because there was a reason you fell, right? Jump into what you fall into. And so you want another stream of income? I suggest don't just be a speaker, also be a speech coach. Because I'm telling you, those two go together like bread and butter. I mean, they do, because when somebody sees you speak and you do a good job, what do you think they're going to say? Can you teach me how to do that? So I've been certifying speech coaches over the last 14 years. And I have a number of people who are now certified world-class speaking coaches based on the best-selling book. And so that's been a joy. So don't just look at one income stream, look at least two.
And you have a training starting on June 14th, don't you?
This is our 14th year. So June 14th, we're starting. And so if you want to go to that, go to certifiedspeakingcoach.com, certifiedspeakingcoach.com. We have a couple of spots left. We sell out every year, but there are a few spots left as of now.
Oof. Thank you. Yes, do go check it out. I will go check it out myself if it's not too late, actually. Well, it's not too late. So I'll go check it out.
Go check it out today if you can.
Will. Yes. Whew, okay.
That's why I wear this, the legacy, right? The legacy,
Yes.
because when you teach somebody how to share their message,
Mhm.
that's a legacy.
Yes,
That's a legacy.
it definitely is. Yes. Because then it causes ripple effects, as my good friend Daryl Pace would say there. Ripple effects.
That's it. That's what I always ask for before I take the stage. Let this have a positive ripple effect across the world.
Mm.
And I also say to myself right before I take the stage, let me forget myself, remember my speech, and touch my audience.
Mm.
I always want it to be about them.
Mhm.
Always want it to be about them.
Mm. Oof, okay, one last one for you. You are an extremely busy man, Craig. With all your speaking programs and speaking engagements and high profile clients, your husband duties, which I think was probably the most important, your
Yes,
son's
definitely.
basketball games. I think it was your son's basketball game
Yeah.
that I
And
saw.
my daughter's track meets.
Your daughter's track meets, writing books, and so much more. I'd like to know, how do you stay grounded, balanced, and mentally sane, and on top of all of that stuff?
This will be the shortest answer I give. One word: meditation.
Oh.
Yeah. I have an app, and it just showed me today that I have meditated for 828 days in a row.
Whoa.
Not missing a day. It's part of what I have to do, because what it lets me do is be present in every moment, right? And so as I'm talking to you, I'm not thinking about anything else. It's just me and you and the listeners or the watchers. But in 17 minutes, I'll be on another call and I'll be present on that call. So that's what meditation has done for me. And then it's done wonders in terms of having me be present for my audience. You know, because as a speaker, I used to think, are they liking this? Are they into it? You have those questions. Are they going to bring me back? All these different things. I don't really catch myself thinking about that anymore. It's just all about being in that moment with them. Thoughts dissolve when they hit the present moment.
Yes. Yes. And it's so difficult nowadays to just stop. There's just so much stimulation, so much noise that while those who practice those methods like meditation, prayer, etc., those routines, it's huge. How long do you meditate per day? Just curious.
15 in the morning, 15 in the evening.
Wow. Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What's the next step for Craig Valentine, if I may ask?
The next step actually started about 7 months ago, and it's the Inner Circle for Speakers. Okay. I started the Inner Circle for Speakers, and what it is a 12-week program to guide people into creating a keynote speech that should earn between $4,500 and $9,500 per engagement, US dollars. So I finished my first group back in, I think, maybe around January. And now people are just coming in on an ongoing basis. And so but I never have more than 15 people in the course at one time. So it's just been fantastic watching them create their keynotes and then going out and giving them and getting rewarded and basically teaching people to do what I did for many, many years, for the last 23 years. So the Inner Circle for Speakers, that's something that is not just next, but is also now. And I plan to make that more my focus moving forward. That and an information empire.
Information empire.
Yeah. You know, I got my Speak and Prosper Academy, and I've got a lot of courses that are out there. And so helping people without me necessarily needing to be there is a big goal. And so that's why automation is so important. Yes. Eighth wonder of the world for me. But yeah, the Inner Circle for Speakers and the information empire, that's where I'm headed.
Yes. And that sounds like a huge bonus, like not needing to be there. That means liberating more time for your life, your family members, your loved ones, your other projects. So it sounds great.
That's why, it's all based on that, based on around the lifestyle, but then also realizing that you can touch more lives if you don't have to be everywhere. Yes. Look at 52 speaking tips. I mean, people would contact me and say, Craig, our Toastmasters meetings, we start every meeting off with one of your tips. Like, well, that's cool. It allows you to have a larger reach.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to do was touch lives. When I was going through the contest in 1999, people would come up to me and, I always get awards and rewards and trophies and things like that. But there was always one guy who would say, Craig, great job. Are you going to win the next one? He kept asking me, you go, and I'm like, can I just enjoy this one? Well, he's like, you're going to win. And even in 1999, Patricia, I always said the same thing. I said, I don't know. I just want to touch lives. That was my theme. I just want to touch lives. The interesting thing is, and I tell people this, every time I reached out my hand to touch a life, somebody put a trophy in it. But here's the key. I never reached for the trophy. I always reached for the life. And so when I'm talking to speakers nowadays, I ask them, what are you reaching for?
Can I say amen to that?
Yes.
Amen. Okay. And finally, if someone in the audience would like to reach out to you, well, to use one of your programs or just to get in, what's the best way to get to you?
I think the opening door, the front door is 52 Speaking Tips.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go to 52 Speaking Tips, and then everything will open up to you from there. And again, that's free.
Yes,
okay, so
yes.
52speakingtips.com. Now, right now, if you're very interested in coaching, then you want to go to certifiedspeakingcoach.com, because we're about to get started a week from today.
Okay.
And there are a couple spots left.
Awesome. Thank you. And yes, my main takeaways. Now, thank you so much. Oh, I feel like a new human right now. I'm rewatching this on repeat. My main takeaways, there are a few, but I feel like I need to elaborate quickly before I let you go.
Mm-hmm.
First things first, get a coach. What got you here won't get you there.
That's right.
Go to someone who already climbed the mountain. I like that
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't rush through anything. Like don't rush through a speech, basically. Mm-hmm. And the 3 tips that must be retained: find a foundational phrase, speak to be repeated, reposted, retweeted. Mm-hmm. When you get the buzz, you get the biz. Don't get ready, stay ready. I feel like we can make a mini Bible out of this. Your dreams are not for sale.
That's right.
Or is it your dream is not for sale?
Your dream is not for sale.
Right. Quoted you properly, yes.
Thank you.
Number 2, when you're in speaking, you're in sales. Sell the result, not the product or the idea. Put the result before the request. And number 3, to retain, the heart of any story is the dialogue. Don't add humor to your speech. Uncover the humor from the speech. Okay. You can't fake out your nerves.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Right.
You have to accept them and work with them. And speak your way into speaking. Speak for free until you can speak for a fee.
That's right.
Give value, get confidence, and then start charging. Yeah. And jump into what you fall into. Meditation, so that you can be present in the moment and keep your sanity. And speak to touch lives. Don't reach for the trophy, reach for the life. Okay. I think I've summed up everything. Any parting words besides that, Craig?
Yeah, I'll give you one final piece of advice. And this goes to some of the questions you asked about fear and about not thinking they're ready and that sort of thing. You got to be there before you get there, right? You got to be there before you get there. And I'll give you one final example. In the mid-90s, I was an events planner. And one of my jobs, believe it or not, was setting up the stage for the speakers, right? Now you imagine all the while wanting to really be a speaker. So here I am setting up, I'd go into these ballrooms and I'd lay down the power cords and tape them down. And I'd move chairs around and I'd move the lectern up front and I would move more chairs. They used to call me the chairman because I used to move so many chairs. So I was just always in there, but it never failed. And this was like a daily basis. Every time I would walk into one of those empty ballrooms, I would walk up front and I stand behind the lectern and I'd look out and I'd imagine that one day people would show up to see me. And Patricia, I always said the same thing every single time I stood behind the lectern. To myself, I said, today I move the chairs, tomorrow I move the audience. So you got to see it so you can be it. You got to be there before you get there. And I'm moving audiences now.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, you are. What an honor it was, Craig. I feel so blessed. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and at home. Thank you for watching. I hope getting to know this wonderful man has touched you as much as it has touched me. And I will leave you with this. The power of your voice can change the world. Find it and use it. See you in the next video. Bye.